Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be covering how to use the Assembly 2 Plus or A2 Plus Workbench to make an assembly of all your parts that you've designed in FreeCAD. Here I have demonstrated a finalized assembly using the A2 Plus, and you can see that it's simple copies of geometry of parts, so they can't be modified here. And then underneath each part you have all the constraints for that part. So I'm going to show you how I did this. I'm only going to do one leg, and I have that pictured here. So I'm going to show you how to assemble this one leg and some of the best practices I've realized along the way. So to start with, let's get a new document going here, and we're going to start by using the add a part. I would like it if this said something like add a part to external assembly, or I'm sorry, to assembly, because I think it can be a little bit confused with this, but it's not bad. So I'm going to start out with, and you see I have all my parts listed here, and I've given them names that made sense to me. They may be wrong. I'm going to use the upper 4-bar mechanism first, and you'll see that it actually opens the document and then brings it in. And the other thing I'm going to tell you is the best way I found is to stay in one plane while you're assembling this, because the move tool seems to want to work in one plane, but it's not exactly clear. And the other thing I realized is that you want to approximate the final position. It just kind of helps with things in the long term. So I'm going to transform this to where I know it'll end about like that. Let's minimize that. So let's bring in some other parts now. So I'm going to bring in something I call the coupler. And you know, if it's a terrible name, you feel free to leave a comment. So I'm going to approximate about where it ends up. And now I'm going to do what I call the inner and outer parallel. So let's do the outer parallel first. So outer, and this is because I call them parallels because these two are parallel with each other. I don't know how it decides at what depth to put it. You notice how these came out in behind this one. I didn't tell it to do this somehow, but it seems to work to my advantage. The last time I did it, you'll notice the green colored member, the next one I put in, it was actually above the orange, and let's see if it does it again. So this is I call this the output coupler because it outputs the energy, and it did. So I don't know if that's like some kind of super intelligence going on there, but they don't have levels, and my original sketch parts they all start at the same base point, so who knows. So then I had the lower 4-bar mechanism, and give that a second. That's my new nickname, by the way. I'm trying to get to. So you'll see that this one isn't angled correctly, and if I even go to the side, you'll see that this is the piece that ends up mating with this up here. So let's go back to top, and let's translate that guy. Transform, sorry. And so I got to give that a spin like that, and that's good to go. We got a couple more pieces, if you bear with me. I have something called an interleg cross member. Again, that's my name. Sounds good to me though, because it goes between two legs, or interleg. And mine has a little bit of a different design on it because I'm going to be using it with something else. Now this one interestingly placed in line with the orange ones. I don't know why. All right, so there's two more pieces. So I have a crank, and this is the second design of my crank that I made, and this is just simply a little more like a linkage, I guess. So I kind of put it about where it's going to end up. And finally, I called it a drive shaft, but it's more just a pin, and put that in place. So the next thing we're going to do, I kind of missed there, but that's okay. So the next thing that we're going to do is start joining these all up, and we'll do that using the axial constraint. So to constrain my model, or my assembly, sorry, with axes, I'm going to shift the model like this so I can get at it a little better. And we're just going to start going through by selecting the axis constraints, and it gives you little instructions and the items that you can select, that's very helpful. So I'm going to select the first one and the second one, and you see it moves slightly to adjust. So now those are in fact lined up, and that's good. And we're going to do all the axes first. So I'm just going to go through, click, click, and just click all the axes that I want lined up. And you see them moving as I go. I'm going to try to do them kind of in the same as the layer order that I have, but I don't think that that's important. And you got to be careful not to do two, because digging out mistakes can be difficult. So this one I'm going to have to move up because it's, let's see, let's just do that. So now we'll pick another axis. So we're seeing we're getting everything worked out. Do I have one? So to check one, you just open the assembly part and see if you have an axis constraint. If you don't, you'll notice it doesn't give you any indicators. Then you just put the magnifier and it shows you which items are constrained. So I have one there. So that's how you can check the constraints you have. So now I want to do these two. So let's do axes here and here. And you see when there's a little more movement, it takes a little longer to figure it out. I also want to do, the next one will be here, this, and we're getting through it. And then what I'm calling the crank here will be axial constrained with this, so we'll pick both of those. And you'll see it'll shift things around for us. And then the final thing is this pin or shaft or whatever you want to call it. So we're going to first do that with this. And then even though it looks like it is, it's not set up with that yet. So let's do that. So I think I got all of them. I had this sinking feeling I missed one. So that's the one leg fully constrained. Now you notice this is kind of free. What I've done to constrain that is I've created a ground plane before and constrained it. But I'm not going to do this do that this time because I'm not going to be animating this. But the next thing we need to do is constrain the planes. So now let's go through and constrain all our planes, and that works much the same way. You'll see this is the plane coincident constraint. I'm not going to be giving any offset, so we'll just go through and do all those. So those are the only two constraints I'm going to be using for this video. So you just basically select the planes you want to be touching, and we're going to go through and do all of them. So I'll do that one and this one. Some of them aren't going to show any kind of movement because they're basically already where they need to be. You'll see this one's going to move. Doesn't matter where you select the plane because we've already made the axes coincident. So the next one we're going to do is this one and this one. So you see we're getting there. Now I'm going to put this one is going to go on the bottom of there. So let's do that one. So do plane. So this can get a little tedious. And that's done. And then that's interesting. Oh no, those are good. So so the final ones we need to do are this needs to go to there. So let's select our plane. And again, you can select the plane anywhere, it doesn't matter. Our pin needs to go to even with that, so let's use the plane tool one more time, and we're good to go there. And then let's see, what am I missing? Oh, this needs to go up. See how that's why I colored them green, is so they can be easier to identify. So this plane is going to be coincident with the back of this. Now, so this is just an assembly for visual purposes. Of course, these would bump into each other in a terrible way. There'd be a lot of interference there. So the final thing that I'll note with this model is that, basically this whole assembly is repeated on the other side, but these are flipped so they fit in here and here. So our finalized model looks like this. And let me show you one last thing. So this particular one has an angular constraint, and this is how I'm going to eventually animate it. And what you can see is if you go to the crank here and we pick angled constraint and show the constraint, you'll see that it highlights the planes that are coincident. So I'm going to use this angled planes constraint to reposition all the parts relying on the constraints I put in before. Now when you're in this constraint view here, the properties are of the constraint, not of the object, they're properties, assembly 2 properties of the constraint. So if you just click anywhere, you'll exit that mode and go back into angled planes, and you see I've got an angle of 90. I'm going to change that to 45, and then after an hour or so of my toaster or the computer processing, you'll see that the whole assembly is repositioned with this new constraint in mind. So that's going to move this crank to a 45-degree angle here, and it's going through and calculating and repositioning everything. And as soon as I say I'm going to pause this, there you go. That always happens, so I said it this time instead of actually pausing it. So you can see how powerful that is. Before I was doing this with the draft, move and rotate and snap, and it just is a nightmare, unless maybe you're a math wizard, I don't know. But that's the assembly tool. I hope you like it. If you do subscribe, I'll be doing more videos as much as I can. I'm going to be covering other topics too someday. I do some OpenSCAD videos. I do BlocksCAD. I want to do some Arduinos. I'm kind of getting ready so they're a little bit better than my current quality. But make sure you subscribe and click the alarm bell. And I'll see you in the next video. Have a